we all have different personality types, like, and we're guided by that. I don't know if you've ever done your Enneagram or if you believe in Enneagrams. And like, I'm a 3. My best friend is a 1. Brittany is a 1. And so we kind of clash sometimes with the different personality types, because she's the kind that when she's upset, she wants to be secluded. I'm upset, I want to talk. And so it's like, okay, we can't like commiserate. And I was the same way as you were with this person that you liked. You wanted to know, what did you do wrong? And he's like, oh, no, I just need to be by myself. So he was the Brittany in that case. And you were like, oh, what did I do? And so this is another dynamic that comes into this, is different personalities are going to respond in different ways.
Yeah, I get in my own way sometimes. You know, I'm a health and life coach. I want to help people. And sometimes I get upset when I feel like someone is just stuck in a place where they have to work through it. And I've gotten a lot better. But when I first started, it was really hard for me, like, to go on and enjoy the rest of my day. It would really, really sap me. And now it's like, this is the process. And it's a beautiful thing, and I'm going to be with you through it, even when it's hard and ugly. But it was almost like I wanted instant gratification. It's like, no, I know you can do this, but it doesn't work that way. And that's my personality. So it comes from a good motive. You know, my heart is in the right place, but being aware of different personality types, for sure, definitely. And that's something that anyone should be aware of when you get into a relationship. And so when it becomes harmful, like in this narcissistic relationship that I was in recently, is when a sign of that is when they're beating you up for having a different personality. When you are sensitive to certain things and they're saying, well, that's not legitimate. You know, they're not validating your feelings. Your feelings are true. Perception is reality.
Yeah.
And if someone can't honor that, then they've got to go.
It's so funny you bring that up, because I was just talking to a friend that lives in the UK today, and she was with this guy for a couple weeks. And the first week, he was like awesome and everything. Oh my gosh, they got together, they hooked up, all the things. And then suddenly he showed his true colors. Narcissistic through and through, was just berating her in the text for whatever. And finally she's like, I think we need to stop texting. And then he goes ballistic on her and sends a whole bunch more texts. And finally she's just like, I can't handle that. I don't deserve that. I'm like, but there's a lot of people that they're like so desperate for a relationship that they would put up with that kind of thing. And, you know, you stayed in a relationship for a little while longer than you needed to. What do you think kept you and yours, kept you bonded? Was it the fear that, oh, I'm underweight, I'm sick, nobody would want me, and so therefore I feel like I have to cling to this guy even though he's a total asshole to me?
No, it was more like I believed the crap he was saying about me.
The gaslighting.
Because I was sick, and because even though I told him, I gave him full disclosure when we met. I said, I'm sick. I'm likely not going to live for much longer. I'm struggling. I need to eat only meat. I'm struggling with binge eating. Like, I told him all of that. And I told him I need to see a chiropractor every day. I need medical massage, and it costs a lot. But that's how I stayed out of an emergency room all the time. Like, so when I moved in with him and I was doing all the things I promised that I needed to do, and he said, I understand, he turned into a different person. It was not okay. And he said, you know, you're making up your autoimmune issues. I demand to speak with all your doctors. I got him on the phone with my doctors. You know, it didn't matter. He would go behind my back and talk with my aunt and say, she just has an eating disorder. He manipulated my own parents against me. It was really twisted. And I quickly felt suffocated, and that's when I realized I've got to get away from him. But in the beginning, it was more like I gave him grace because I understood how frustrating and annoying it would be to be with someone like me. Even though I was honest with him about it, I don't think no one could have realized what they were getting themselves into. And it was irresponsible of me to ask for a relationship at that time. I was not ready to love someone. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't realize that was not the way that God intends, and that's not the way anyone should do it. But that's the situation we got into, and it was really ugly. And so yeah, it took me a while to even really realize it doesn't work that way. And yeah.
And it sounds like the gaslighting started quickly. And this is a term, if you haven't heard it, guys, look it up. We're going to talk about it a little bit here, but basically blaming you for all the everything, and there's no culpability with that person doing the blaming. That's a huge warning sign, you guys. If somebody does wrong and you do all the wrong, there's so many women out there, especially Rebekah, they take on all that guilt and shame, just like you did, believe the gaslighting, until you kind of wake up and go, well, wait a minute. I'm not doing all of these things. This guy never takes responsibility. It's usually the guy. It can work the other way around, but it's usually the guy. What's going on? And so good thing that you did wake up and you saw that before it got worse, whatever worse would have been.
Yeah, and it was a very twisted form of gaslighting where he would basically, it's like he would pretend to be sympathetic with the situation, and he would ask me, what are some ways that I can better support you? But in that, he was actually blaming me for things that weren't even my fault. He's like, what are some ways that we can make this work for us because you're screwing it all up? And it was like, you're creating things that don't even exist. We started seeing, I asked him to see a Christian counselor with me.
Yeah.
And even in those sessions, it was really twisted. And when he would leave the room, she was like, it doesn't look like this is going to go anywhere, because it was impossible for him to see his own faults. And that's what was very, very scary. And I didn't even see that for way longer than I should have been there.
So do you think this whole journey is all about seeking worth? Like, I think sometimes we seek self-worth in other people, don't seek in self. Like, self-worth, it's literally in the title, guys. You try to do it yourself and work on yourself. I've done a lot of this kind of work myself the past couple of years, and I know you've been working on yourself. When was that relationship, by the way? How long ago was that?
That was in May 2019.
So we're only talking less than 2 years ago, you guys, that you were in this relationship, and thankfully got out of it. Like, what were some of those other signs that you saw that this was not going somewhere and it was not feeding you and not letting you properly heal physically?
Physically, I had no peace. My blood sugars were all over the place. Like I said, I needed massage on a regular basis, more than I needed before I moved in with him. And it was simply just to get my central nervous system into a place where I wasn't like constantly. My digestion was way worse. Every time I ate, it was around him, and he was constantly judging me. And my impulse, the binge eating got way worse. I mean, I was struggling before I moved in with him, and I thought that moving in with him would give me more accountability. I told him I want to do all meat. I know that it's going to help. And it just got way worse. He started accusing me of having an eating disorder because of that. He said he was keto, and then when I got there, he had all this crap food, and like everything he said was untrue. But yeah, just being in that space and then having him accuse me of binge eating made me way worse. And to the point where I would break into his food and have like a bunch of rice and things that I don't even crave. It was like, what is going on? It was so messed up. And it was simply my body telling me, you have to get out of this prison. Like it was an escape. I was sabotaging at one point. And that's when I decided in my head, I'm going to check myself into an emergency room and ask them to treat me for an eating disorder, because that's what it has become. And I clearly cannot refeed myself in this environment with this guy. I would rather be held in an eating disorder unit and go through all that again than be stuck with this guy. I couldn't take care of myself there. It was horrendous. And I was I was tiptoeing everywhere. I would lock my door at night. Um, it was creepy. It was hard.
I couldn't imagine, Rebekah. Now, keep in mind, you guys, you were made to go into an eating disorder clinic as a teenager by your parents. So the fact that you
An
made,
adult.
what's that?
I mean, I was an adult still. Not
Oh,
to interrupt you.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So all the more, you had this traumatic experience being forced into it before. Now here you are doing it again. Like it was that bad. Was that the moment Rebekah said, huh, I need to do something different. I have to get away. That was the moment?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, I mean, it was in my spirit for a long time, but that was the moment that I realized I cannot continue here. And I mean, just to get out of there was a miracle by the grace of God. And I knocked on my neighbor's door. It's just crazy that I'm going public with all this right now. It's very emotional. But I would go for a walk every morning before I ate, um, basically to get away from him, but also just to get some fresh air. And I started knocking on my neighbors' doors, people I didn't know, and just telling them, look, I am stuck with this guy and I need somewhere to live and I'm sick. I need some help. I was living in a very wealthy area, so I knew these people. These people had servants' quarters. So I was just looking for someone who would help me out. I got the police involved at one point, and he just laughed at it. He continued. But yeah, it got really bad. And for months, I was looking for a place just to go. I was considering living out of my car for a long time. I was calling Catholic Charities, the 211 number, where they hook you up. They're supposed to help you. Multiple women's shelters, they were packed. They didn't have space for me. I would have lived in a women's shelter. Um, my chiropractor knew about all this, and he would constantly tell me, you've got to get out of that environment,
Yes.
because he would feel the difference, from a day that we had a conversation or a day that I was able to escape him. And we talk about it still. He's like, it's insane how much better you are responding to everything. My body took off when I got into a better environment right away. Even when I was doing the same things, when I didn't change I did carnivore. I started it with him in that house. But when I got out of that environment, a lot of things got a lot better. And that's when my intuition was really able to take off. And it increased, the healing increased so much when I got out of there.
And that is such a key point, you guys watching and listening to this. If you're in that sympathetic state, like in a constant way, your body, no matter how good you eat, no matter how carnivore, no matter how keto, no matter how much real food, no matter how much exercise, all of that's going to be negated by the stress of your life. So it may not be domestic violence like you dealt with. It could be like a boss at work that yells at you every day. It just could be just broken relationships. It doesn't have to be something dramatic. Like, think about things and how powerful that is. But even more so when you're in intense and a domestic abuse type of situation, if you don't flee that situation, you can't hope to heal.
Right. Yep. And I was aware of that even before I got into this situation. But I was under the impression that he was this guy that was ready to take on all my issues, and that he knew that was an issue for me. He knew that I had issues with my parents, and I told him what my triggers were, and he abused the heck out of it.
Do you think he saw weakness in your sickness and thought he could take advantage of you?
100%. 100%. That's what my butcher friend told me. She was the first person to say, you have to get out of there, because I told her what was happening, and she's like, he's literally preying on you like a hurt animal. And that was the first time I was like, wow, I never looked at it that way. I mean, I think from when he saw my profile in eHarmony, that might have clicked with him, you know?